Welcome back, everybody, to GBC's Conscious Book Club. Here we are again, and this time we're preparing ourselves and you to discuss with us The First Darkness. This again is another book by Dr. Mitchell Gibson, and this time it is somewhat of a fiction, science fiction, or is it really? Well, welcome everybody. I know many of you have had a chance to read the book in its entirety. Tonight we're going to focus on chapters 1 through 6, and we're so happy to have all of you here as a part of the book club in the discussion with us. So let's get started. I know every one of you have read the book the first time out. Overall impressions, how would you, what are your thoughts and comments about First Darkness? Is it 5-star book, 4-star book, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star book? So we'll get started. Don't nobody be slow about responding. Give us your response. One, what's your thoughts?
Definitely a 5-star. I mean, in my opinion, it's a great book. I think it kind of joggles your mind a little bit. It gets you from. It stimulated something in me, so I definitely can say that. It definitely was a stimulant.
Okay. Anybody else want to share their thoughts about First Darkness?
I'll say when I first read it, it was I'll say a 5-star book. It's definitely one of those books you don't mind reading more than once. And it's one of those books that I think I finished reading it in 3 days, and the only reason it took 3 days is because probably I had, to go to work. I started reading it on a weekday. Had it been the weekend, I probably would have stayed up and finished it on Friday. Yeah. Because you want to know what's going on next. Yeah,
different people on Amazon who reviewed the book said it was a page turner. Let me share with you what Jamil Militant wrote. He says, I've never been an avid fiction reader, rather more of a hardcore science, history, and spiritual metaphysics book consumer. This book, however, was mesmerizing. I have a busy schedule, wife, and a son who keeps me pretty occupied. He has another child too, by the way, since this was written. Keeps me pretty occupied much of the time. But I found myself bound to the book, completing 302 pages in 2.5 days. Sound like you. Mm-hmm. Okay. James Powers, he wrote and said, admittedly, I had my doubts about whether a spiritual fiction book by a medical doctor and spiritual teacher would fly. But my girlfriend and I read the first 5 chapters while driving back from Pennsylvania, and I was hooked. I contemplated reading the rest of the book on evenings we spent together. But I couldn't wait to pick it up again, and didn't. And so obviously he was a great advocate of the book. Robert Pertiera, he says, I'm left wondering how much is fiction. Now, right. in many of the reviews I've read, that's the question that tends to come forth. Yeah. Is it really fiction, or is it science fiction or science fact? Right. And so, but anyway, Robert said, how much of it is fiction and how much of it is biographical? The book is a sensational read. This kind of book one can't put down and can't wait to see it scripted into a movie. He says, great job, Dr. Gibson. And so, I think the same thing. Any of you want to make a comment overall about the book?
I think that was, one of my things when I got to the end of it, and we can't talk about that. But we can't talk about the end right now. But when I got to the end, well, even all through the book, you can see it. Yeah. Right? Yeah, you can see the things that are going on in the book happening. Right. Even in the first part of the book, and I know I read where Crystal spoke on one of those parts, and that was one of my favorite parts too, when he went up to the hornet's nest. Oh yeah. And it was a very descriptive book, which I love, because it painted a picture. I could see that hornet's nest. I could see the size of it,
and I could feel Tiffany's
yes, I could imagine how she felt with her father walking up to this hornet's nest, seeing the bees buzzing around.
We're gonna come back to that that point, because you got to talk about that and him talking to the beetle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. You just want to share any just overall reviews of the book for yourself?
Go ahead.
Either one of y'all. Go ahead.
I just, like you guys just said, it took me there. The book took me there. Mm-hmm. It seemed like it opened up something in me. Mm-hmm. It's like it took me to another place. Wow. And it was, I started reading and I fell asleep reading. I kept dozing off and waking up reading it because I wanted to keep reading. It was just so good. Mm-hmm. And it just took me to another world. It's like another horizon. Things that you didn't even contemplate when you first started reading this. It was just like these were just unfolding. That this could actually take place. This is real. I feel like it was real.
You feel like it was real. You don't feel like it was science fiction.
No, I feel like it was real.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Kim. You was about to say?
I was gonna say, well, for me, it was reading it the second time was interesting because now that I've been a student of Dr. Gibson's, I can see all the different things that he told, like his practice, his spiritual practice, certain prayers, certain things that he did in the book. And I was like, oh, I remember Dr. Gibson talking about that. So now I'm just like, I really think that it's mostly true. More so than fiction, because now I'm picking up on it and taking notes in the margin saying, oh, I remember this, or I remember saying something about that. So
I was going to mention that as well, that I wonder, the second reading of it, now that you've had a chance to grow in your spiritual understandings, particularly as he explains it, do you see stuff in the second reading that you didn't see in the first reading?
That's why there's so much information encoded in this book.
That's the right word too.
Encoded in this book. It really is. I mean, I was reading them. I read it again as well, and I was like, wow. It's so much. It's so.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It shows you potentials of what can actually happen for real.
Now let's get into the first 6 chapters, and since I'm kind of like conducting discussion here, I'm just gonna go based upon things that stood out to me.
Okay.
First of all, the first scene with Melvina and how you pronounce the girl name? Salva, and their murder and the death scene. It was in the Roman Colosseum. How do I pronounce it? Colosseum, and they were being attacked and raped, and eventually they were going to be killed by these Roman gladiators. But in the midst of that, the Melvina killed her sister,
right.
And to protect her from the hulking men that was about to ravish her body, and then she was killed. Mm-hmm. Okay, starting there, and the thing I noticed that was and I think Crystal White brings this out in her review, is that they both, after their death, they both had intense hunger.
Right.
And they felt intense cold. Mm. What is that about?
Fatigue.
And fatigue. Mm-hmm. What was that about? Because normally people are very ignorant. As a matter of fact, it appears that they weren't even aware at one point that they were dead.
Right. They sure were.
Mm-hmm. But it was surprising them that they would feel that level of humanness or physical desire.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Because that played a big part in other. What do y'all think about that?
On the other side, yeah.
That reminded me of what Dr. Gibson, when he did the lecture on attaching spirits and just what happens when you die. So he always speaks to us about, leaving offerings for ancestors and explaining how even though you have died, you still have, they still get hungry. They still have some physical characteristics of a human being. So that was something that stood out to me as well, that I was like, I remember this now. I didn't pay much attention to it at the first time. But
Anything else?
Well, I think, it was the, just the, like you said, the humanity of it. The fact that their feet hurt. The younger sister's feet hurt. She said her feet hurt. She was crying and whining, and her sister was like, just, telling her, just shut up, I'm hungry too. It's nothing.
See, here's the $64 million question. How is it that your feet hurt and you have hunger pains and all these emotions and you don't have a physical body? You're not in a physical body. What does that imply?
The strength and the feeling and the senses, the fact that your senses go beyond, the physical body.
Or that you have more than one body. Not just a physical body. You have other types of bodies that require some type of nourishment as well.
That's right. And for people who think that's strange, that's not an unusual metaphysical belief.
Right.
In other words, that your sight is not limited to your physical body. Your physical body.
Right.
Your hearing, your taste, your smell.
Yes.
There is a form. There's a form and consciousness and spirit that goes beyond the physical body.
Right. And I would imagine that the sensitivity is increased.
Yes, it is.
Because they're, where as when we move on and get to that point, the bliss is greater, when you're outside of your physical body. I think that they were more sensitive to, the trappings that they, were experiencing too, because they were, like you said, hungry immediately. And it was probably having something to do with the amount of energy that, they lost during, the transition, but they were hungry immediately. They were probably used to walking those kind of streets in their physical body and had built up a resistance, but in this body they were.
And also this body is empowered by taking in physical food. Right. When you lose this body, in your astral body or in your soul body or whatever, how you want to call it, the question is, where do you get energy from?
Right. Where do you get things?
How does that body sustain itself? Anyway, but many people I think this is important, this book is important because many people are very ignorant of the death state.
Yeah.
They're very ignorant of the afterlife state.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I think that brings up a good point. When they were talking about they were tired and hungry on page 21, I think it was Salva that was saying, I thought we were supposed to be with the gods.
Absolutely.
And she said, there was a misunderstanding of what happens after you die. People just think that as soon as you die, boom, you at the pearly gates. Right. They don't understand these transitions between those stages.
Yeah. We don't have in our Western world, we're not taught about the process of death. Like in certain Eastern philosophical worldviews, or metaphysical worldviews, they have like the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Right.
You have like the Egyptian Book of the Dead. You have other documents that teach you, prepare you for what to expect as you go through the death state or the between life states. I think that's very important. So, in writing the book, Dr. Gibson then shifts. We'll come back to it later. But in writing the book, Dr. Gibson shifts to his family life, and therefore he's meditating, and he has this experience in his meditation state with this beetle. This beetle talks to him. Anybody want to talk about that? What's significant about that?
Well, it brings up that other point of when you step outside of your physical body, the sensitivity. Yeah, and how your senses are increased. Because, you know, he was then able to hear this beat.
And he was astral traveling.
Right. Oh yeah, he saw the He was able to hear the voice, and then, you know, while he was outside of his physical body, went and had this conversation with him.
Yeah. Let's connect this. Let's skip ahead and let's connect this to because he kind of jumps from the past scene to a murder scene, that kind of thing.
Right.
So let's kind of jump ahead, connect the talking to the beetle with the whole scenario that happened with the Hornets.
The Hornets.
Hornet, yeah.
Now, do you believe that he was able to use the honorable core, and he spoke that, and this was not in his astral body. This was he was in his physical body.
Right.
He spoke to the hornet's nest, and I guess it'd be the queen hornet. She referred to him as the one who knows the name. So I let you know there's something about the what? The honorable core that goes beyond just communicating with angels and communicating with God, but there are either insects or other forms of life that recognize it.
I want y'all to think about that.
That's what I want to know. I'm asking you.
I know.
What do you think about it? Well, I'll tell you what I think about it. I think that it says that all beings have, well, not all beings, but more than just humans have soul. More than just humans have soul.
Right.
Because he was able to communicate with them at a spiritual level. So I think that's very important. Just keep that in mind, because it'll come back later on at the end of the book, obviously. But let's go into the let's talk about the scene where Thomas Merton, or was it Morton? Well, for some reason or other, all of a sudden he just killed his two sons and himself.
Right.
What is building here? We had the suicide and the death of Melvina and Salva.
Yes.
We're gonna get to the old man in a minute, but we have the and then we have the death of these two boys and the suicide. And notice what happened that was different than, I think, the first scene, or maybe it may have been a little similar.
What's that?
And that is he could not detect soul matter.
Right.
Now that's interesting to me. He could not detect soul material because it was customary, according to the spiritual world, that when a person that dies, that an angel would escort them. But somebody is stealing soul matter. And there's been left a red and red form. Mist. Yeah.
And that's what he sensed at the scene. Right?
So that's the mystery. Who's stealing the souls? Now, Miss Kathy in the book suggested that who has the power to do that?
Right. Who has the power to do that?
Is it a demon? He wasn't sure. But then we have this gathering at the hut where this old man, these two dogs, and these women, Melvina and Salva, show up. And she has an experience with this old man. The old man's name was what?
Answer.
And what did he do to her? I mean, you can keep this. You don't have to make it rated X or R. But what did he do to her?
You're talking about the scene where they went to get some water or something?
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. That goes back to the first question. We're talking about how do you feed a different type of body besides a physical body? We need solid food. That reminded me of what Dr. Gibson calls sun gazing, how to take in sunlight. So that, to me, like I said, when I read it the second time, I understood that there was a way to nourish that type of body.
He affected.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
All the way
and he
it affected
also
her.
referred to it as giving her a gift.
Yeah.
So it went beyond
Yeah.
just the sun gazing was something that he was doing.
He said,
On
okay.
But how did her body?
But then-
How did she process it though, Christy?
The first thing I thought about it was she had a kundalini experience.
Right.
Oh, you think it was a Kundalini experience?
Yes.
It definitely was.
Yes.
Yeah, is that what you would call it, Warren? Kundalini?
Orgasm.
That's what it feels
That's
like.
what it is.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So you saying the orgasm is a Kundalini experience?
Yeah.
Now, how was he able to do that?
It was an exchange, transference of energy.
And it caused her to have a deep orgasmic experience.
Right.
Why would he do her that way?
Perhaps because she died as a child. Did she die like as a child, so she never, I guess, had experience out?
He said that she had been doing this
Oh yeah,
for
she
a long
raised.
time.
Doing
Right.
what?
That was just in that life.
Doing what?
Bringing souls.
There you go.
Yeah,
Bringing souls.
souls. So when he said it was a gift, and that was his way of
Paying her back.
Rewarding
It's
her.
It was
rewarding
something
her
that
for
she had
salvation.
probably
What she had-
experienced before. She just didn't
Yeah.
remember it in that lifetime.
But see,
You
the
know,
point
she had-
is to connect the stories of the Thomas Morton. He killed both of his sons. She killed Salva, her sister.
Right.
And Answar, the old man, rewarded her.
Rewarded
right.
for that.
Exactly.
And the question is, why is he stealing these souls, or have them taking souls for him?
Well, we'll get to that.
Well, that's going to be the end for the book.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else had anything that they want to, that they found themselves? That's just my reading. And
when in that particular scene, when we're talking about, the old man and the girls and being, out at the river, this experience happened to them. Well, she was going to get water. She felt like he was there with her, but when she got back to the house, her sister told her he had never left.
Right.
what do you call that? By location.
I didn't understand. What did you say, Stephen?
Yeah.
When she went to get the water, the him that was there sitting on the rock, getting the sun, transferring the energy that was in that experience with her was a different
Right.
form
'Cause
of him.
Remember,
than that
she was
form
trying
that
to
was
beat
in the
him
house.
back to the house.
That's right.
And when she got to the house, her sister came out and said, "He's been here the whole time. We were looking for you,
Right.
waiting on you."
Yeah,
Yeah, that was about. He was by
He
location.
was by location,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Right, so
Right.
he had
two places at
two
one time.
places at one time.
Right.
Right.
So this lets you know that there's something weird about this old man. That's not, simply that he's an old man.
Right, he was an old man.
Right. He's
Right.
more than that.
Right.
Right.
We don't know what.
Right.
We don't know who. But
Not just a little
he
man.
he thanked her for taking her sister's soul and bringing her sister to
To
him.
him.
Right.
More importantly.
More importantly,
To him.
to him. And that's what made her become afraid of him. And she was trying to run back to the cabin to get her sister. And her sister wasn't there, but he was there.
And I think that part of the book brought up for me something that we've spoken about. Dr. Gibson talked about on News for the Soul before, about he was telling a caller that called in that an experience that she was having was the result of something that she had done in a previous life. And when I heard that, we talked about that kind of thing at church before, about, your shadow and how it feeds into the experiences that you have and how you create those experiences. But it brought it into a different light about the fact that a lot of times we're in judgment of somebody who killed another person, or who, people who, they fuss and fight and argue all the time, but you don't know what their karma is with each other.
Point. That's a very good point. Let's talk about that for a minute.
So the thing with Melvina was that she didn't realize this, this past life that she had had. Mm-hmm. She didn't realize that that was the reason that she was bringing her sister. That she thought she just randomly brought her sister to this place, but there was something that pulled her there because she had a karma with this man, with this situation.
I think also to take this even to talk about it, extrapolate on it in terms of modern day right now, and that is. We watch stuff and we watch stuff on television and we on the news and we hear whereby somebody does a heinous act, an act of violence against a child or against another human being or whatever. And we only look at it from the standpoint of, okay, who did it? Why they did it in terms of, did they have some type of mental problem? Did somebody, like just recently, we had a guy that shot these people at in the LAX or Los Angeles Airport, International Airport. And so we're looking for reasons. Say, well, was he a disgruntled employee, or did somebody upset him? Things happen. It's like the case where those kids were killed in Connecticut and in Denver, Aurora, in the movie theater. This book moves us to look deeper. To get beyond just the the present, how do I look at it? Just the normal way of looking at something in terms of who did it. CSI. There's a component here. This is where we bring in Dr. Gibson, and he is a forensic psychiatrist,
right?
But he's also a medical intuitive. He is a forensic intuitive, to put it, a clairvoyant, if you will.
Yes.
And he is able to look at a deeper reason behind why things happen. See, I don't think many times people actually pay attention to that, to see, are there, like Shelley was saying, are there karmic reasons that draw people together, that cause people to act a certain kind of way, and do things that make absolutely no sense? Why that man killed his 2 sons?
Right.
He loved his children. The woman loved her sister, and then the other people that was mentioned that actually did the murder. Many times, I guess what I'm trying to say is this: many times it's necessary that we have to look beyond the physical,
right,
and see the spiritual or the metaphysical roots or causes behind social and physical phenomena.
Right. I think that was the beauty of the first few chapters, because to me it laid down the groundwork for getting a better understanding of how forces work, and what different ways that they can influence. I mean, there were several things, even when he said to Hannibal Cohen to the hornet's nest, that the force and the frequency of the prayer was able to bring forth the queen out of it, and basically able to have a conversation. I mean, he's showing different mechanics of how the forces can actually work. And I thought that was very, very good.
Now, I got a question. All of us in here know the Uncle who's tried to talk to a bug.
I tried to do it. I didn't do it to a bug. I did it with a dog.
I try all the time. Every time I happen to see a bug I'm not afraid of, that's just like walking. And I say, well, now, do I need to get real close to it?
Because I didn't tell you.
Or can I stay back here? Is it going? Do I need to say it in my head and try to do this telepathically? Or so I've tried all of them. I try to listen. I try to sit there and listen.
I talk to a bug, but put my hand toward a hornet's nest, I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I'm not either. But I'm just the other day, I was outside at work on the car lot, and there was a bug. It looked like it had 2 horns coming out like this. And I was basically outside waiting on customers, waiting people come on, just enjoying it. It was a beautiful day. And I went to the front of the car. Now, and the bug came over there to me.
Okay.
He stood there. He didn't move. So I said, okay, let me go back to the other end of the car because I'm trying to get away from it. I didn't try to kill it.
Don't want to kill it.
The next thing I knew, the bug had traveled all the way across the top of the car, and he came on the other end.
All right. He said, kill me.
No, he
He said, talk to me.
So I did it again. I went to the middle. He came from the back to the middle and stood and sat right there on top of the car. And I thought about this book. I was like,
Really?
yes. I was like, I said, then I told the book, I said, okay, man. I said, that's all I didn't say. I said, okay, I'm gonna leave you alone. I'm gonna go over here and went to another car. But
He was probably trying to tell you a conversation he had heard about somebody who was talking about. Yeah, he was trying to tell you
This
that
dude here
man
ready to
over
buy a
there.
car.
yeah, he probably so.
And you sat there and had a conversation with that
You
book.
could have sold that car.
But you know what I
That's
did?
what
Get
I
off
got
my
from
car.
that section. Don't
Talk
like
to the
you said that they have souls and there are
Right.
things that there are ways that we can help them and they can help
Right.
us. Because he told them, look, if you move way to the back there and we'll be fine. We can live
Right. And he's
peacefully
gonna say
together.
honorable board, he give him some spiritual energy or whatever.
Well, with the Beatle, right? Yeah, with the Beatles, he said he talked to Miss Kathy about getting them their
Just
own
stay out of the
flowers.
kitchen eating her cookies.
Yeah, leave her stuff alone.
Her flowers
Let's
alone.
fix this up.
This
Go
is
ahead,
a little
Chrissy.
different. With certain bugs and stuff flying around me, I get a little antsy. And sometimes I can't be still. First thing before I would, when you're afraid of something, the first thing you do is try to kill it.
Right.
Well, it was a moth or a bug or something flying around just last night. And it kept flying over there. And I said to myself, don't come back over here. I don't want to kill you, so don't come back over here. That bug just left.
Well, you got the gift.
It just left. In my mind, I said, because I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't like stuff flying around me. I don't want to kill you, so don't fly back over here. That's what I was saying to myself. And then just one day I was at work, and I just out of nowhere, a water bug appeared. And it was just whatever. And I did not want to kill it. And I said, you know what? Rather than kill this water bug who has done nothing to me, I'm going to pick it up, scoot it up on something, and take it outside. And that's exactly what I did.
Oh, that's sweet.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh,
And everybody was talking about, what should happen to it? I said, no, I'm going to give it a chance.
Right.
And so if it makes
chance to come back in your house.
and if it makes it, then I'm going to set it free. It's free to go, but I'm not going to kill it because you just never know. That could be.
Well, you just never know.
Could be Uncle Charlie.
That's what I was going to say.
Trying to communicate with
Yeah, right. So.
One of the things that I got to make a comment about that. In my humanities class last week, we were talking about the afterlife, and so I asked people on Facebook. Nobody responded, so I asked you all: are there animals, insects in heaven or in hell, and which animals can you see being in heaven, and which animals or insects can you see being in hell? For example, I asked this in my class. Nobody had a problem with a little white Easter bunny going to heaven. When I asked about a rat, they couldn't see a rat or a crow
Going.
in heaven. Anyway, I just
didn't seem right to 'em.
It didn't seem right.
Yeah,
It's amazing how certain things get to go to heaven, other things don't.
Wow.
White horse in heaven.
Right.
A mule, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, move on. The thing I want to focus on at the last part of it is that the preparation of Dr. Gibson when his creator called him. The preparation that he went through prepared to meet his creator.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that he phrased it, not the creator. He says, my creator.
My creator. Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Your creator.
your creator, yeah. And I would think, I don't know, that he's referring to DeJounte or Thoth.
Right.
What do y'all think?
Yeah.
His spiritual father.
His spiritual father. That's what I thought about.
Spiritual parents.
His spiritual parent. Yeah.
And look at the preparation that he and Miss Gibson went through in terms of him taking a shower,
Yes.
putting on a robe, a certain kind of robe,
Right.
and getting a silver bucket or some kind of bucket.
The oil she put on him.
The oil he put
Put on him. Yeah. What type of oil? It
It was
was
jasmine, cinnamon, and myrrh.
jasmine, cinnamon, and myrrh. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Every man should have a wife like that.
it just reminds me. It just reminds me of all the stuff that Dr. Gibson has said on the radio show, through different lectures, when he gives us these recipes for protection, or
Speaking of that, they actually did a certain mudra of protection with
Yes,
flame.
that's what
Right. And that reminded me of one of the Kinwa footsteps when he said that about drawing something, in flames over something. But I don't want to get into that. But he mentioned mudras and runes, drawing rune symbols in the sky. And like I said, now that we have done some of these things and some of the rituals we've done, it's like it makes me think, oh, that's another idea. I can go back and do that because now I know the significance of what that does. Right. It may not be a rune symbol, but I know other symbols that he's told us we could do that with.
Right. And they also the runes come out of the Nordic tradition.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
The Norse tradition.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was very important for me. Something else I want to mention is that the words of power. You ever notice that throughout the book he mentioned words of power?
Right.
Yes. And his early point, Miss Kathy put a word of power out.
Right, for protection.
For protection and everything.
Right.
Overall impressions, first 6 chapters?
I think, just on this point alone, then like Juan said, that first 6 chapters shows you, the basics. Mm-hmm. It shows you, like this scene in particular shows you, I think if people start reading this book, that they will find practices that they are able to study up on just from saying, here's, you got the miracle prayer. You can study about runes.
Right.
Know that you can look deeper into finding out how to do words of power and becoming involved in that.
Right.
Even find more mudras, more about the afterlife.
So anybody don't know, don't know what is a mudra?
They're hand formations, hand gestures, body gestures, postures, those types of things.
Even the way Dr.
prayers.
Gibson meditated or meditates, I paid attention this time to how he is able to move his consciousness to his brain so that he can astral travel.
Right. He giving you
showing you how to do it. Because if you go back,
he really gave you a month.
If you go back to page 11, he says something about some years ago he had learned how to move the energy from certain parts of his body to go wherever he wants it to go.
Right.
And it reminded me of how he talks to people about stagnated chi. Like when you get a block in one of your energy centers, what happens? Because he says that this is not a good thing to, even it says it here in the book, that this is not a good thing to do. You need to learn how to move it.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember him saying something on the radio show to another person about that.
Have any of you ever had the experience of astral travel?
Yes.
Not like that, though.
Some of you have not?
I believe I have.
I know I have several times.
Okay. Well, like you said, Shelley, there's a lot of things in these first 6 chapters that actually let you know what is possible, what our spiritual potential is. I remember Dr. Gibson said the only difference between you and I, that is us and him, is that he has accessed more of his awareness, his consciousness, whereas with unbelief and with limitations of mind and our attachment to the reality of the 5 senses, we actually stagnate and short circuit our abilities and potential to do greater things.
Right.
Even in the Bible, it tells us that you can do greater things than even what we read about of the stories of Jesus. We can do greater things if we are willing to open our consciousness up to that possibility. And so I think this is one of the great things that we're discovering in this book. And I think now we're ready to go deeper into this mystery of who's stealing these souls and why.
Right.
The mystery of Ansha.
Yeah.
The mystery of Ansha, which we'll begin to look at. And what are the next groupings of chapters we're going to cover next week?
November 10th, we will be covering chapters 7 through 13.
So next week is chapters 7 through 13. If you have any questions or comments out of chapter 7 to 13, by all means, give us an email. You can email us at mindofgracepb@gmail.com. And until next week, this is Richard Bullard along with Juan Hill, Christy Hill, Kim Strickland, and Shelley Ingram as we are getting ready to wrap it up, and we'll see you next week. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
All right, see you next week for more GEBC Conscious Book Reading, First Darkness by Mitchell Gibson.
All right.